Yeah, so today I want to talk to you about our method of making dictionaries. We've currently created about, I think I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but six dictionaries are in the making right now with different languages. So the method we're using is rapid word collection. So this is, of course, a method that probably many of you have heard of as an SIL developed method. And we took that, we worked with SIL for the first few workshops and then expanded it to really work for the North American context, where literacy levels are very low in the indigenous languages, and also where we needed to incorporate recordings into our dictionary making. So this is generally our way to make dictionaries. It takes, I would say, it takes 3 years. We have the example here of the Crow dictionary, where in the first year, after about 2 months, it took about 2 months to organize a rapid word collection workshop. Then a 2-week workshop was held. Then another anywhere between 3 and 4 months to work on the data that was collected, clean it up, kind of prepare it for a next session, and then we go back and we do a re-record session, or we do a review session, go through as many entries as possible. Something is flagged, maybe the recording wasn't good or anything happened there. So we do another workshop of 1 or 2 weeks then. Another 3 months go by, during which we work on the data. We go back for a final first review. And then after about a year, in total, we can publish an online dictionary and a dictionary app at the same time, which will then be continuously reviewed and revised over the next 2 years as we continue working on the language with more workshops. And then after about 3 years, we have a print dictionary. So the dictionary grows throughout the 3-year development. I think our first dictionary for Crow, the first online version, had about 3,000 words. Our print Crow dictionary now has 12,000 words. So it continuously expands. So the RWC, or Rapid Word Collection Method, is a 2-week workshop. It can be in person or remote. As everyone else, we had to adapt with COVID and went from in-person to remote workshops. You work with up to 8 groups of fluent speakers plus a scribe. The scribe can be either a local person who's able to speak and write the language, or a linguist. Each group has 1 to 4 speakers, and you work for about 6 hours a day plus breaks. And then, is that the same one? Here we go. So this is just some screenshot of some pictures from a few of the workshops that we've done. The first one we did in 2017 with the Acoma tribe in New Mexico, followed by the Crow in 2018, Ute, Mountain Ute, Gwich'in, Ho-Chunk, and Stony in 2019. And then in 2022, we've been working already with the Eastern Shoshone, the Tahltan, the Yavapai, and the Diljant Apache tribes on using this method. So this is how it works. First, preparations. So before we even start the workshop, we have an open house event where we invite the community to come in, ask questions, we explain the method, say what's going to happen, and everybody gets the opportunity to ask questions, bring their friends, bring their grandma, anyone who might be interested in that. Sometimes we do this once, sometimes we do it twice, depending on the kind of relationships we already have with the community. Also, as a preparation, these days we work with a lot of scribes that may not have worked with this language before, because we work with, as I said, up to 8 groups. There's not always the capacity there. A lot of the languages we worked on actually don't have a lot of linguists working on these languages. So we try to find people who we can train and help to learn how to scribe the language. So we developed a practice tool where we have a number of existing recordings, match that with very reliable transcriptions, and then let people go to town with it and just practice. So this is the tool here for Tahltan, which we actually didn't use for our own scribes, but which we used for community members who were semi-literate, but were not particularly confident. So they were super, super grateful that they had this, and it prepared them for the workshop a lot. So then the rapid word collection, of course, works on the basis of semantic domains. There's 1,700 semantic domains that were originally developed by SIL. And within these domains, basically you create a semantic picture in your head. You talk about the kitchen, you talk about, as this example here, different landscapes. In the original method, people would have this sheet that you see on the left-hand side there. And a group leader would simply read this script down and kind of ask, how do you talk about being honest or dishonest? And a lot of the time people would actually end up just reading a lot of the English there, and people would try to translate, one thing we noticed, and then sometimes become frustrated because maybe they couldn't think of as many words as English has in there, or other complications. So we actually started using an online tool, or a digital tool, showing a lot of pictures instead of actually the words there, to really work with the semantic association and creating pictures in people's heads. So instead of talking about all the different types of a river, we have different pictures of a river, and that works much better, we found, than just listing a creek, a rivulet, and a stream, anything like that. And we only one person in the group may or may not have this, still the text there, if someone really can't think of it, or if we can't, obviously, if we cannot show it, such as honesty or dishonesty is kind of harder to show than a river, of course. So we adapted a lot of the original SIL domains to the North American context. This is just one example here. This has to do with compass direction. So we added some other things that might be common in the North American context, just so that we would really try to cover a lot of that. Of course, there's a lot of this has to do with traditional methods of hunting, tool making, anything like that. So this is just some impressions from our Stony Rapid Word Collection workshop, which was held in a very large auditorium, not ideal for recordings, but still worked. So this is the Rapid Word Collection itself, and then we move on to the review session. Well, this is kind of still on the skills transfer side of the general method. So we work with partners in different ways. So as I said, for our Thornton partners, they had experienced younger people who wanted to really learn how to write the language and really be very much involved in creating dictionaries. So we taught them how to use the tool, how to write the language, and anything else that they needed support with. If not, we can provide a linguistic team. Everybody gets an extensive training on everything, and we also, of course, provide all the recording equipment for everything. So the tool is something that we created ourselves. So going away from just handwritten notes, we actually developed a digital tool where the words are directly typed into a computer. We have monitors. The scribe sits there with a laptop, and the monitor is pointed towards the speaker, so they see at all times what you're doing, which is also nicer than somebody just writing something and no, you spelled this wrong. So they tell us off, of course. And this is here an example of a remote and hybrid session. So we've had a lot of those sessions where there may have been a person sitting with a linguist in a location together, where the recording station was, and then a few remote people joining in as well. So you can tell here who is doing what. You choose your domains, and then either, again, the original method asked for you choose, people could choose the domains they wanted to work on. We can do both now. We found that sometimes it takes a lot of time for people to do that, and then somebody doesn't want to do certain domains at all. So we started to automatically assign domains that were, and we assign them by, these are domains that are very fruitful, where there's going to be a lot of discussion. If we're seeing it's an afternoon session, people are getting tired, they really want to talk about animals now and not about legal terms, for example. So we can, create, we can kind of help with that. And then here's the collection form. So it's quite easy to use. This is the Thornton form here. So you write the Tahltan word up here, the English gloss right there, and then you have a recording area right here. You click the record button and add various one or more audio recordings. Another great thing is once we started this process, either there may be already existing dictionaries or anything there, or even while we are working on this, so this is updated in real time, you start typing a word and it suggests other words. Because one thing we also had lots of problems with were duplicates, having multiple concurrent sessions. So this has really cut down on the duplicates because someone starts typing a word. This also works not only with exact match, but also with a kind of just guessing match that may or may not be like common mistakes. We kind of try to analyze a lot of that beforehand. So here you can then choose, okay, this is a direct match. So you can add a gloss to this, you can add a recording to this, but you can't create a new entry if it's a direct match. Or if it's a link, say you want to actually, no, you don't want to say take it easy, but it's, you know, you want to add an idiom about this is someone who takes it easy, something like that. So you can put that in here, you say what it is, yeah, that updates in real time, which is great. Again, here's the recording interface, just big button for people to know that they're being recorded right now. You can also, here, this gives you real-time access to the data to, no, this is hard to see, but you can kind of monitor groups and how they're doing. Kind of maybe see, okay, what's happening here with group 4, they've only recorded 81 lexemes, is their tool working or not? Things like that. All right, and then, so this is a bit beyond, this was Elliot's part in our presentation here, who's working on all of this. All this data gets exported to a file that we can use in TLEX. That's the data collection tool that or the data management tool we use. And then from here, it goes into the TLEX database where we work on the description or the editing of the data with the linguistics team or with the local team. So that's the general RWC method. Our re-record method is, of course, very similar. The idea here is to build better entries, adding things, maybe adding example sentences, adding lexical, morphological information, such as verb forms, which tell you about the inflection, what type of inflection, the inflectional form the verb is, and so on. Anything that needs new audio, because there was a background noise or anything like that. So this is the collection tool there, kind of looks very similar, just that this time you have a recording tool, right, the recording right there, you play it back to people and they say yes or no, make a new recording, and we can also change the gloss and put any notes here. Of course, this one, we still have that here, the pandemic one. Yeah, so you can, for this one, for example, these were for our Stony words, so we could add the stem form as well as the declarative form, while we decided which form should ultimately go into the dictionary. And further on, you could also, anything code here, this was flagged beforehand by a team of linguists, so what's wrong with the entry or what we may want to ask about. And here are the recordings. The recordings, once they're recorded, immediately play back, which allows for immediate quality control. So if there was, background, somebody slammed the door outside, you can immediately just re-record, which is very helpful. And this also is from our Stony collection, where whenever there was a verb, you had a little checkbox that said, yep, this is a verb. So we want to also add the first person singular and the first person plural, which then ultimately tells us what inflectional form the verb has and what class the verb goes into. All right, so this is the general method. And then, of course, then, as I said, we go to TLEX, and from there we develop an online, desktop, mobile, and print versions. So TLEX allows us to filter for appropriate or finalized entries. So as our team goes through, they can check off, yes, this has been checked, we want to have this in this dictionary. We're also producing student dictionaries. So sometimes we may want to flag certain entries as appropriate for student dictionary, or actually as not appropriate for student dictionary, for example, so we can do all that. And then we work with the tribe's design teams and officials to make sure everything, the entries look good, as well as the design and anything around it. And then we custom export it from TLEX to our app and mobile versions, and then it can be distributed. So we develop apps for Android and iOS. This is our Crow dictionary here, so you can download that now if you want. Just look for Crow dictionary and use that as an app. The online version looks like this, so you can either type an English word or a Crow word, and you have recordings, usually at least one, mostly two recordings for each entry, a male and a female one. And then you go to the print version, which is here again, the Crow one, which will have both sides, English to Crow as well as Crow to English. And then, so this is just kind of giving you an idea on what these workshops look like. They really give the community an opportunity to come together, to work on this together over 1 to 3 years or more. It really is an important time to visit with each other and just share the important work everyone is doing. All right.